Hello and welcome. Today we are going to bake. I've already baked these cookies before, but I know you guys have wanted more baking videos and my husband really wanted these cookies, so I'm gonna bake them again for you. These are the DoubleTree chocolate chip cookies that I love. They're actually my favorite chocolate chip cookies of all time. So I'm gonna do this a little bit differently. I'm going to add all of the ingredients that, as I go. I'm not sure if I'm gonna show the mixing, but we'll talk throughout the whole time. As usual, if you don't like something about a video or you have recommendations, leave me a message and I'll make sure to read those. Okay, you'll probably hear my shoes on the floor, but because I'm in the kitchen. Anyway, all right, so the first thing we're gonna do is we're actually gonna add butter, 2 sticks of butter. I have like the half stick, so that's why there's 4. And I had to melt them a little bit, or to soften them, because I forgot to take them out of the, I forgot to take it out of the fridge last night, so I'm dealing with cold butter, which doesn't really help and it takes forever. And then I'm gonna go ahead and put that in there. And we're gonna use this again for the eggs, so we'll do that in a second. But you're supposed to put 2 sticks of butter, full sticks of butter, and then I'm looking at my phone really quick. And then 3/4 cup of granulated sugar. So it's 3/4 plus a tablespoon, which is an odd thing. But they're so good that I'm not gonna, question their recipe. So I'm gonna get my 3/4 cup. Do I have one? Yes. Now this is, my sugar's really full. I don't always like to fill my cups with all the way to the top of the sugar, because I don't want my treats to be too sweet. So we're gonna go ahead and put 3/4. Okay, and then a tablespoon of granulated sugar. I mean, I guess I could leave the tablespoon off. And then another 3/4 cup of light brown sugar, which I have here. Just trying to move things really slowly so I don't deafen you. Now I do want to show you this trick. For my brown sugar, I find that it gets hard. And so the way we combat my brown sugar from getting hard is to either put a slice of bread, or in this case, a tortilla. And for some reason, that allows the moisture to remain in the brown sugar. Not quite sure how, but it works. So if your brown sugar gets hard, try this. So now you will have to replace the slice of bread or the tortilla, as it will. And then we'll just pack that in. Okay, and then you just dump it in. Now what I like to do is I like to make sure I combine these ingredients as thoroughly as possible. So that means that they're usually mixing for a good, I don't know, 3-4 minutes. So we're gonna put this up. I'm going to go mix this, and then we'll be back to put the rest of the ingredients together. Okay, so if you hear a noise, like a humming sound, that is my oven pre-baking. I forgot to start it before we started with the sugar and the butter, so I hope it's not too loud. But anyway, so the same dish that I used to slightly melt the butter, or to soften it really, is the same bowl I'm going to use for crack opening the eggs. Now I have my recipe right here. I should note that, I mean, ideally you would have your butter soften overnight, but I didn't, so that's why I put it in for like 30 seconds. It doesn't necessarily warm it up, some of it does melt, but it definitely softens it, which is what you're looking for. I also don't like to put my eggs directly into the mixture, because if a piece of shell falls in, or it's just a bad egg, it's gonna basically ruin the entire batch. So I like to just crack them open in a bowl, and then if it makes it a lot easier if a piece of the shell falls through. If it does, then you know how difficult it is to get the shell out. Just wet your finger with water and then scoop it out. For some reason, the wet finger helps have some kind of traction in the egg, so it's easier to scoop out the shell. So now we're gonna go ahead and crack open 2 eggs per the instruction. 1 and 2. And we left out no shell. Oh, no, spoke too soon. All right, I'm gonna go get my finger wet, and I'll be back. So now that my finger's wet, actually my thumb is wet as well, and voila, I got it. You see? So before I would have spent a good 5 minutes just trying to fish out the shell, but like I said, if you get your fingers wet, you're good to go. Now I'm going to put these eggs back, and we're going to put these eggs to the side. Actually, while we're at it, since we have these wet ingredients, we're going to go ahead and put the 1 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla while we're at it. Now I'm almost out of this one, so I have my extra one here. I'm gonna go ahead and open that. So I'm probably gonna need it. So we said, what did we say? 1 1/4 tablespoon. I don't think this is gonna be an entire, teaspoon. So let me just open this. I have some really good Madagascar vanilla extract, but I only really use that for vanilla ice cream. So, okay. And we said, what was it? 1 1/4 teaspoon. So let me get my teaspoons together. 1. And I believe this is the 1/4. Perfect. Okay. That's what I thought. Didn't have enough, which is why I opened this one. And 1/4. So I'm just going to put this to the side, and I'll show you when we combine them in the mixer. Now, we're going to go ahead and combine the dry ingredients into this bowl. Okay. Go ahead and recycle this now. And we are going to need 2 1/4 cups of flour. Yeah, okay. So let's get our 1 cup. We have our flour here. The one thing I hate about flour is that it goes everywhere. So, 1 1/4 or 2 1/4, and then we have our little I like to use this to scrape things off. I just hope I have enough. Put that into scoop it into the cup. Okay, let's see. Oh, perfect. So we have one. Oh, I'm sorry, we need two, not one. Why do I keep thinking one? Scoop this up. I probably need more flour in here. Okay, let's see. Any more? Okay. And then two. And then 1/4 right here. Perfect. Have just enough for the cookies. We're going to use half a cup of rolled oats, which are just, I think, old-fashioned oatmeal, I believe. Yeah, old-fashioned whole grain rolled oats. Or whole, yeah. We're going to open that, and we're going to get 1/2 cup, which wasn't enough. That's okay, because I have another one here. Oops, and if a little extra falls, I'm okay with that. Perfect. So we have the rolled oats. We also need baking soda and salt, and I didn't get the baking soda. Alright, so we need 1 teaspoon, which is this. What normally I like to do is I just, because it's wet, so I just dry it up. And we need 1 teaspoon of salt, which I have here. And 1 teaspoon of baking soda, which I am going to do over the drain because otherwise I'm going to make a mess. Voila. And like predicted, I made a mess. And it asks for a pinch of cinnamon, which I'm not quite sure what that means. But I just normally sprinkle it on. This is also new, so I have to open it. Someone's dog is barking. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and just sprinkle some. I'm not gonna do a pinch. That's good. And then that is it for the dry ingredients that are gonna, I mean, we still have the chocolate chips and the walnuts, but this is what I'm gonna mix in to the mixture before we proceed with the chocolate chips and walnuts, okay? Perfect, I like to mix this, pre-mix it before we put it into the mixture along with the butter, the sugars, the eggs, and the vanilla extract. So we're just gonna go ahead and just make sure it's well mixed. Voila. I think that's good enough. Now another thing we're gonna do is also cut a lemon, because this recipe does call for a lemon. We're gonna cut it. Now this one I've already grated, and I grated it because I cooked it the other day and it called for zest. But I think it's still good enough to get the lemon juice out of it. So that's what we're gonna do, and we're gonna use it with this. Now it asks for a 1/4 teaspoon of lemon. I normally don't measure how much lemon I put in there. I just kind of squeeze them in. This is a pretty old lemon, along with the fact that I zested it, so I can't imagine it having too much juice. But we'll see. We'll gauge it. So we're gonna go ahead and cut it. See, it's kind of hard to cut. Oh. And voila. Oh, it's actually really juicy. We might only need half, but we'll see. Now, because these are expensive knives, I like to rinse them out after every use, immediately after every use. These are beautiful, and these are really good knives as well. They cut like a charm. The only problem is that you have to watch out for these, because just like they slice through anything easily, they also slice through flesh very easily. So be careful with these if you decide to get one. You can buy these individually or as a set. So I love these. I couldn't go back to traditional knives anymore. But again, you have to be really careful. Now, I think we're almost ready. So what we're gonna do is, I'm actually going to squeeze the lemon juice first, just so that we can gauge it before we put it into the mixture. So let me get a little bowl. We're gonna squeeze and kind of eye it out, and then I'll take it to the mixer so we can mix everything together, okay? So we have this little kind of like a Corningware situation going, and I'm gonna go ahead and take my awesome lemon squeezer, which I love, by the way, and squeeze. Yeah, I'm just gonna squeeze the whole half lemon, because I need to use the whole thing. For this, I'm probably gonna put it in a salad tonight. Just squeeze it in the salad. And voila. All right, so let's go start mixing. Okay, so now what we have is the butter and the sugars, both the white sugar and the brown sugar mixed. And we have here the eggs along with the vanilla extract. I'm gonna go ahead and mix it. This mixer is the KitchenAid Professional 5+. It is extremely loud, so I'm going to mute the audio so that I don't blow your eardrums away. Right, now as you can see, it's not very well mixed in, so I'm gonna go ahead and scrape the side of the bowl along with the little mixing spatula so that everything is very well incorporated. Okay, let's see. And while we're at it, we're gonna go ahead and put in the lemon. Okay, and now we're gonna go ahead and add the dry ingredients that we pre-mixed into this batter, but we're gonna do it slowly. So, taking my 4th cup measuring cup, I'm just gonna put in a little bit, and then as we go, as we start mixing, adding more. Let's go ahead and scrape the side of the bowl. Okay. Get some of this batter out from in between the blades or the little sections, if you will. Okay. And let's continue. Alright. Let's go ahead and scrape the sides one more time before we add our chocolate chips and walnuts. Do I have walnuts? I have walnuts. Okay. Just want to make sure what kind of nut I had. That sounded weird. Okay. Alright, so let's mix a little bit more and then we'll start adding the chocolate chips. Alright, I think that's mixed well enough for me. Now, we're going to go ahead and add the chocolate chips and almonds, or walnuts rather. Now for the chocolate chips, I normally don't follow the directions. I like to add a lot of chocolate chips to my cookies and a lot of walnuts. I haven't noticed me adding more than the recommended chocolate and walnut proportions into my mixtures to actually have a huge impact. So I'm continuing to do it. I'm just gonna dump this whole bag because it wasn't full. And a little more. And we also have these walnut halves that I'm going to go ahead and break into smaller pieces. I normally get the chunks, but they didn't have them. Walnuts are expensive, y'all. So I get whatever's on sale. Now it's funny because in Houston, if you have a walnut tree, like they're just everywhere. You just pick them up and you can make your own pie. You can put walnuts in anything, but they become so expensive. I think walnuts used to be a cheap nut if I remember correctly. And it was the almonds that were expensive. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and start mixing. Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and take this over back to the counter and start placing our cookies onto the cookie pan or sheet pan. So we'll be right back. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is scoop out the cookies. We're actually gonna mix the cookie dough a little bit more, but I like to use these mats. They're cookie mats. I'm not quite sure what the actual name is, but I like to use them. I like to put them right inside my cookie sheet. I just find the cleanup to be a lot easier. Well, my husband finds the cleanup to be a lot easier. If I bake, he has to clean. So, yeah, and I really like them. I'm madly in love with these mats. So I have a much bigger one that I actually place on this counter whenever I'm rolling out dough or I have to roll like some kind of pastry out. That's what I use. But for the cookies that go into the oven, I use a smaller one. But let me go ahead and move this out of the way really quick so that we can kind of mix this a little bit more. Now, as you saw, I do put a lot of chocolate chip cookies, or chocolate chips really, and walnuts. I want every bite pretty much to come with its own chocolate chip and piece of walnut. There's nothing that gets me more frustrated than when I order some kind of dessert, whether it's a cookie or a cake like carrot cake, and they promise nuts and carrots, for example, or chocolate chips and nuts, and I get one in the entire cookie. That frustrates me, so I overcompensate and put way more than the recipe calls for, and I'm okay with that, and so is my husband. So now I have been known to use an entire, or pretty much an entire bag of walnuts on my cakes. Okay, so I got most of it out of the mixer. Now I'm just gonna scrape the sides of the bowl, as well as kind of mix it up a little bit. You never want to over mix your dough once it has the flour in it. So, okay, I think we're good. Okay, now we're gonna move this to the side. We're gonna bring back the cookie sheet. Bring back the cookie sheet, and I'm going to use this ice cream scooper. I find that it's really good for scooping out not only ice cream but also the cookie dough. Okay, so I have that. These are going to be pretty big cookies. I'm going to try to shape them a little bit as much as possible. I can tell this one's smaller. You see that? So I'm going to add a little bit more. So these, once we have them all placed, go in the oven for about 20 minutes. And I'm actually hoping to try out this hack that I learned from Instagram to get your cookies nice and round. We'll see if they work. Okay. Now I'm only gonna do, what is that, 2, 4, 6, 8, because I'm making these cookies pretty big. And I have a feeling they're gonna spread out because we're not giving the dough enough time to, like, I'm not putting it in the fridge so that it doesn't spread out. So that's it. I think we're good. A little bit more to this one. Okay. And let's see what happens. So we're gonna go ahead and put them in for about, let me see. $20 to 23 minutes. These might take longer because I'm using a bigger portion per cookie, so we'll see. We'll see. I'll be right back. We're gonna put these in and then I'll show you how they come out. Okay, so they've come out. Now, I've made these massive, So what I saw on Instagram, in order to make them like a proper round shape, you were to get something like this and then kind of, you know, gently move the round thing around, you know, does that make sense, around the cookie to make it a perfect circle. However, these are massive and I don't think that's gonna work. So maybe something like this. No, we're just gonna leave them. So that was a fail. But now I basically have to do, oops, got some water on there. Do the rest of these and we'll be done. I'm gonna let these cool, but I'll show you the end result. In fact, we'll eat one because these look delicious. So yeah, we'll be back. All right, so the other cookie sheet that I have is old and I normally place it at the very bottom of the oven to catch anything that may fall, like if I'm baking, if it spills, anything like that. So it's pretty good. So that's why I put a piece of foil. I will say that whenever I bake cookies in something in this pan with foil, they don't bake as well as the one with the mat. So let's go ahead and do that. I need to buy more cookie sheets. I just haven't gone around to it. Then we're gonna get a little bit of milk after this just to try one out because they look so good. Yeah, I'm kind of bummed out. That's the only thing about making really big cookies is that you can't really give them a proper round shape unless you have a big enough thing to shape them with. Like, perfect. And these are going to go in for 20 minutes. Okay, so while the other cookies are in baking, in the oven baking, I decided to try one because they look so good. Let's see. Now, you see, this is the bottom of the cookie, and I think it looks really good, the top. These are still slightly warm, which is what I like. Oh, look at that. You see the bake in that? Oh. I like the fact that these cookies have like a crunchy edge, but the middle is really soft. I also got some milk. No, because I did put more lemon than what the recipe called for. I'm okay with that. It's a little bit tangier, but I love tangy things. I have to send my husband a picture so he can see what's waiting for him at home. These are so good. I've only stayed at a DoubleTree hotel once. And what I like about the DoubleTree is that they give you a cookie when you check in. And they also have them in like this warming oven. So when they give them to you, they're nice and warm. Can you give me another one? These are so good. Oh my god, they're amazing. I like the bottom too. Now, if you like soft cookies, make sure that the recipe has a lot of butter, like this one. This one has 2 full-size sticks. They're so good. I could literally eat another one, but I'm not. This is my little coffee mug from, I think this was the Faroe Islands when I went several years ago, and I fell in love with these little cups. I love them. Anyway, so we just have, I hope, one more batch to go, and then we'll be done. I'll see you in a bit. Okay, so these are pretty cool now, so I'm just gonna go ahead and place these that are ready into my cookie jar very slowly. And the other set of cookies that I put in the oven last, they're cooling off, so we're just gonna worry about these guys, and that's it. We are done making cookies. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm going to look for more recipes and bake stuff that I haven't made a video before for my next baking videos or cooking videos, but since my husband wanted these cookies and you guys have been asking for baking videos, I thought I would bake them again for you. Anyway, let me know what you think of this new video setup for baking. Let me know if you like it, and thank you so much for watching and for your recommendations and for loving these baking videos. I will talk to you later. Bye.